Thank you, Chair Collier and members, for the opportunity to lay out House Bill 446. This bill amends the existing criminal mischief statute to add public monuments as an item that's protected, and made provisions that any damage or destruction of a public monument, and there's an extensive definition of public monument in the substitution, makes it a third-degree felony.
Do you have committee substitute?
It should be. I have one with me, yes.
Okay, hang on. Let me correct this. I'm so sorry. Representative Murr offers up the committee substitute to House Bill 446, and Representative Allison is recognized to explain the substitute.
Thank you. Just to explain, and I apologize, that this simply amends the existing criminal mischief statute to include a provision that damage or destruction of a public monument, as defined in the substitution, is a third-degree felony. You know, this is brought about really maybe more preventive, hopefully, than action. But you know, we saw happen in our nation's capital, other cities around the country. We saw this fire set at a courthouse in Mason here. That's what this bill is designed to focus on and protect, where there's valuable, treasured public monuments, structures, buildings, churches that deserve that protection from damage and destruction. That's what this is designed to do. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions that I can, and with that, reserve the opportunity to close.
Yes, do you have a copy of the committee substitute?
I do.
Okay. That way we can let the members see it. So sorry. And we'll call you back up to close.
Great, thank you.
The chair calls Brandon Burkhart.
Brandon Burkhart, testifying for myself, as well as this is Texas Freedom Force, and we are for the bill. We've been on the front lines of monument protection here in the great state of Texas for quite some time. I wanted to just bring out some local issues here to talk about. In 2020, the criminal Noah Benjamin Escamilla decided to vandalize the Alamo cenotaph by spray painting a hate speech on it. The paint went all the way through and caused permanent damage to the actual monument. The San Antonio DA only charged him with the criminal of vandalism, even though he caused more than $30,000 worth of damage. In 2015, Julio Perez in San Antonio, Texas, was charged with criminal mischief charge after he carved his name into the Alamo Chapel, which is ended up costing close to $250,000. The point I'm trying to make is that a lot of these vandalisms and criminal mischiefs that are taking place against the monuments, they're not being charged high enough crimes, and so it's kind of a slap on the wrist, and they go about their way and they don't learn a lesson. We do fully support the bill. I can give you a bunch of other examples too, but I'll try to save you some time here. This bill is a step in the right direction. We fully support it, although our organization would like to see harsher penalties imposed, like Nevada's law, which does make it a third-degree felony as well. And Indiana's legislator that passed a bill this year that says that the city doesn't protect a monument that's in their jurisdiction, then they remove the funding from the state to that city. The preservation of Texas history is an irreplaceable heritage, is the public's interest, so that the vital legacy of culture, educational, aesthetic, inspirational, economic, and energy benefits will be maintained and enriched for future generations of Texans.
Members, any questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The chair calls Ramon Garza.
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Chairwoman Collier, chair members, or student committee members. My name is Ramon Garza. I'm the Outreach Director of this Texas Freedom Force, and I'm speaking on behalf of many of our members that are not able to attend this meeting hearing. and we are definitely in support of HB446.
Okay, so just to make sure my record is clear.
Yes.
I have you listed as for the bill.
Yes.
And you're testifying on behalf of This is Texas Freedom Force and yourself, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you may proceed.
Okay. Now, Brandon mentioned the cenotaph, so I won't touch that. Well, so I'm gonna go back June 21st and the 22nd of 2018. We had 3 individuals in San Antonio. What they did was they vandalized and spray painting 2 missions, Mission San Jose and Mission San Juan Castriana. I think I always kind of confused. Now, just like the Alamo, these are old missions, part of our history, Texas history. These 3 individuals, which got me angry, first of all, for doing this, was that, you know, I grew up going to these missions. And a lot of folks have done that too in San Antonio area and whatnot. Now the thing was this, there was over $1,000 damages to these missions. These 3 individuals, which gets me mad, they only received 5 years probation, $10,500 in fines, and 200 hours in community service. See, this bill would get these individuals higher penalties, harsher penalties. And this is Texas Freedom Force supports the harsher penalties because of the fact is, just like Brandon stated, in our opinion, people do not learn, and they need to respect other properties that belong to folks. And it's not just in San Antonio, it's happened throughout the state of Texas, where a lot of our monuments and churches have been vandalized and spray painted. And to me, especially churches, me personally, that's disgusting. You should not touch places of worship, which San Jose was categorized as a place of worship. And I know this bill does cover that as well. So thank you for your patience and your attention, please. Thank you.
Are you talking about, thank you so much for your testimony. When you said churches, are you referring to only those that have been designated as a public monument, or are you talking about all churches that you like to see this happen?
All churches.
You like to see this apply to all churches?
Yes, ma'am.
Does it apply to, your reading of the bill, does it apply to all churches?
Not at the present moment, it doesn't, but the bill would cover it.
It would?
Yes, ma'am, and that's why I'm supporting that for that reason. The other reason why, the reason why I brought it up, because when San Jose, that's the church, that mission, it's designated as a place of worship, and what I'm trying to say is all places of worship should be protected, and it was not protected in the sense of what this bill would be protecting it for, and that's why I'm supporting this. And if a bill like this was in existence, just for that reason alone, a place of worship would have higher penalties for these folks, vandalizing and just spray painting them.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying. Representative Plunkett?
I'm so happy to have our prosecutor representative here. I have missed you to help me. So I appreciate everything that you say, and I appreciate you being here and your patience. So just to be clear, and I'm not looking at the stuff, but I did take a look at it. Currently in the state of Texas, it is enhanced to a state jail felony if there's a public monument or a place of worship. That's what our law says now. And the maximum probation for a state jail felony is 5 years. I also believe, and Ann can correct me if I'm wrong, most third degrees, the maximum amount of probation you can get is 10 years for most, but I'm pretty sure on a third degree for this type of offense, it still would be a max probation of 5 years. And I will also tell you that on most offenses like this, in my experience, regardless of what the degree is, because there's usually a restitution type component to it, most prosecutors from rural Texas to urban Texas are more likely to give someone probation, because otherwise how do we get the money?
Right.
And so it at least makes them responsible versus us paying to incarcerate them and then also having to rely on tax dollars to fix whatever's been broken so I hear what you're saying. I just didn't know if you realized that there already was an increase in punishment, and what this would be doing potentially, I think the difference would be that because it would now become a third-degree felony, and that would not cover our churches, so our churches would not have as much protection. Then if someone was to say go to prison for it, then they could go to prison for more time. I personally haven't seen anyone go to jail or prison anywhere on criminal mischief, just because then you leave the victim kind of holding the bag with paying for it, because if somebody's in jail, you're not getting the money.
Right, and I understand what you're saying, and that's why I said me personally. That's what I feel. And the fact is this, and that's why we say, we feel for the harsher punishment. And the fact is, what you're saying, and I read that, and I just feel we should up the ante on the place of worship, because especially here in Texas, religion is very high on folks, And the deal is this, I also feel that because of these punishments, where like I say, I know 5-year probation, I don't like, because of the fact is, I understand what you're saying. It does have to be paid for. I also feel that these folks are not learning a lesson, and the fact is, because it happens throughout the state of Texas, it happens everywhere, and if they say, well, I'm gonna get 5 years, I'm okay with that, which that's the mentality of many folks. I would say criminals, career criminals, and they know 5 years is just a stint, and they don't have to face no time and incarcerated. And I feel that they should, because the fact is, not only are they doing their damage, but they're damaging communities and the parishioners that attend these churches. And yes, the parishioners are basically the ones going to clean up the churches.
I understand, but I just want you to be clear that this would not prevent probation.
I understand.
I just wanted to make sure that we were clear, because I hear what you're saying, but in reading the plain language of the bill, some of the things that concern you, they won't be addressed in this bill, and so I just wanted to make sure you understood that.
Yeah, I know. I just know it's just a step in.
I understand. Thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am.
Members, are there any other questions? Thank you for being here.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
The chair calls Lamar Henry.
My name is Lamar Henry. I am speaking for myself and also as Vice President of this Texas Freedom Force, and I support this bill. This bill for criminal penalties is actually well past overdue. Vandalism, outright destruction is criminal behavior and should be treated as such. If I don't like my neighbor's flag, for instance, I don't get to destroy or vandalize it. There's penalties. It is his flag. Likewise, monuments and other structures, churches, waterworks, whatever, many times belongs to the citizens of Texas. When there are not consequences for criminal actions, it encourages those actions to continue. You just turn on the TV, you can see that. This is common sense, and we see that this is to be true with the many regulations and penalties imposed upon society for many, many infractions, misdemeanors, and felonies. It should be no different. It is the job and duty of those here in the Capitol. Without consequences, destructive behavior will be viewed as no big deal, as mostly peaceful protesting or some corrupted version of freedom of expression. It is neither. It is an attack on history, of which our organization is, that's what we do. We're a nonprofit that defends Texas history of all types. History that spans across good and bad. History that people can learn from to improve upon or learn mistakes made in the past. Those who wish to destroy or censor history should be held accountable for their criminal behavior. True to this account, as well as others, is the old saying that people don't easily change when they see the light, but they do change when they feel the heat. And that's the very reason for having penalties. And I think this bill, HB446, will help moving forward in seeing that they feel the heat. Thank you.
I know that you're purist at heart. I think that that's very admirable with what you're asking for. You're saying good or bad.
Yes,
Got a
I
heart.
appreciate that.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. Thanks, sir. And your service to our country.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
The chair calls David Wiley. David Wiley, W-Y-L-I-E. We'll show him as registering for the bill, but not testifying. The chair calls Rick Briscoe.
Madam Chair, members, I am Rick Briscoe, testifying on behalf in favor of the bill.
Yes, sir.
The concept of the bill is really quite simple. We increase the available range of punishments for the purpose of hopefully deterring people from committing these acts in the first place, and to also assure prosecutors that they have a wider range of punishment options available to them. One of the purposes of punishing an individual is obviously to deter that individual from future conduct such as that, and to deter others. So if someone gets, let's just pick an arbitrary number, 3.5 years, that's not insignificant. Yes, our jail capacity is a finite, expensive asset, and we should use it wisely. But I believe, if memory serves me correctly, the third-degree felony is eligible for shock probation, and sometimes spending 30 or 60 days in the can gives one an appreciation that it's not the best place in the world to spend time. And perhaps during their period of probation, they will learn that following our rules is a good idea, and be able to pay off whatever fine there might be. In particular, there will always be a problem with prosecutors who may not charge what we deem to be at an appropriate level. I don't think we'll ever change that, but in changing the law, we can certainly invite their attention to the fact that the legislature considers it a serious matter. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Members, any questions?